Pixel Preacher.
Hello and welcome. My name is David Buzza. I serve as lead pastor here at NorthRidge Church, and it's my privilege and honor to guide you through these sessions that hopefully will lead you to understand what it means to be a NorthRidger. This is our introduction to NorthRidge. Now, whether you are somebody who's been a part of NorthRidge for a while and you feel like you need to revisit and refocus on who we are and what we're all about, or maybe you're somebody who doesn't really have a history in the church and might want a little sneak peek as to what it might mean to belong to a church family. Either way, you're welcome, and we're excited to walk through this with you. Hopefully this will be both informative and inspiring, and we can't wait to connect with you in real life. Today, we want to get everything started off and focus at the beginning point, that is mission. Now, we have been on a mission for 13 years almost now. We'll be celebrating our 13th year in September 12th, 2021. But along the way, it's been difficult necessarily to keep our eye on the ball. Especially recently, over the last year and a half, we've been sidelined, pushed to online, and not really been able to spread our wings here at this new location at the corner of Laity and River Road. But all that's about to change. In September, everything is going to be opening up, and we can really engage with our local community, which is something we really want to do and do well. And so this is meant to prepare you for that. This is meant to prepare you to understand what it means to be a part of NorthRidge Church and the mission that we're on together. Well, let's say this about mission. When someone has a clear mission, they become almost unstoppable. Many of you know the story of a young athlete in Port Coquitlam who lost his leg to save his life from cancer. That could have been enough to just torpedo him and send him into a spiraling depression. But instead, it became the catalyst for a movement that would engage the entire world. It became the mission, the foundation for a mission to raise funds and awareness for cancer research. To date, even after his death, Terry Fox has led to raising over $26 million for cancer research and awareness. When you have a clear mission, you become almost unstoppable. When you have a mission from God, and God is the one giving you the power to fulfill or complete that mission, you literally become unstoppable. We've recently been teaching through the life of Paul. And there is probably no better example of somebody who has such a clear God-given mission and who is filled with the Spirit and empowered to carry out that mission. Stoning, imprisonment, assassination attempts, a shipwreck, a viper bite, all of those are really just footnotes in the story of Paul. And his legacy is this wake of people whose lives have been changed for eternity, because he brought the truth of Jesus Christ to them. When you have a God-given mission and it is powered by the Spirit, you become literally unstoppable. So when it comes to mission, like I said, I'm pretty proud of who we've been, but sometimes it can get a little bit muddled as to what our mission is. So I want to really focus on that today. And the good news is, we don't need to wonder even for a second what our mission is. God gave us this mission. In fact, some of the very last words of Jesus provided the timing and clarity that leaves little or no room for interpretation. Matthew 28 says this, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. And behold, I am with you always to the end of the age." When we consider the actual calls to action from these verses, they're incredibly simple. It's just go, make disciples, baptize, teach. It all begins with a call to go. It's the shortest and simplest call to action, and Jesus is telling us to move beyond where we are, physically, emotionally, relationally, spiritually. We need to move beyond the static, and by static I mean from where we're stuck. And while the call to everyone who believes is to go, God is at the same time speaking to the people who we're going to. The people that we're going with and sharing the gospel with, God is calling him to himself. The Spirit is working in them and he's calling them to come. So this God that has given us a mission is partnering with us. He is really leading the way, working even when we can't see him working in the lives of those around us. The next three concepts, the idea of making disciples, baptizing, and teaching, they all have these nuanced differences, but all share the same idea of deepening our relationship with him. However, what is key to effective discipleship is that it leads to discipleship. It's not the end goal to learn and be baptized. We are meant to teach and baptize others. Now, as I've said this already, as clear as our mission may be, it can get lost in and amongst all the other great stuff in the Bible. As we move forward in our NorthRidge Reset, which is what we're calling this sermon series, as we move forward and get ready to engage beyond our immediate community to the outside community, one thing we want to do a better job of is remembering. More accurately, we want to keep our mission at the front of our mind. With this in mind, we have simplified our mission into something that is memorable and repeatable. I need you to remember this. Here's our mission: learning and sharing Jesus. And now you may notice a lot of missing words in this simplified form. Let's take a quick moment to delve into some of the implied depth of some of these simple words. Well, here's a little Greek lesson for you. The Greek phrase to make disciples is nakanun mathetes, which comes from the root mathetes, which means learner or pupil. At NorthRidge, when we say learning, we can picture ourselves as God's pupils. We are learning the way, capital W, the way he wants us to go. And again, learning is not the end. We're also on a mission to share Jesus. We're sharing the gospel, which when translated means good news. This is also as simple can be. When you hear good news, the best thing you can do is to share it. Finally, it's all about who we're learning about and who we're sharing. It should be said that there is a reason we're learning about Jesus. I'll give you an example. When I first noticed Cara Lee over 30 years ago, we're at the point of taping this, we're about to celebrate our 27th anniversary. Anyways, when I first noticed Cara Lee, it became my mission to learn everything I could about her. There was an attraction that grew into love. In this way, we align ourselves with the greatest commandment. It says, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind." This is the great and first commandment. This is from Matthew 22. So because we love him, we want to learn about him. The more we learn, the more we love him. I want to give you an example. My background, if you get to know me, if you hear me preach, you'll probably hear me talk about how my background is a teacher's background. My background is in education. I have a master's degree in curriculum and instruction. And that's where my kind of training comes from. When I was doing my program, my master's thesis, you could be bored out of your mind for this, was the effect of extrinsic motivation on intrinsic motivation. Stick with me here. Extrinsic motivation, and just another word for that would be rewards. What is the effect of a reward on our natural desire and love for something? Well, one of the studies that I referenced was a study, a link between reading and pizza. Now, as you know, there's no natural link. Pizza was an extrinsic motivator. It was an external reward for readers. And many of you may have done a program like this where you earn a pizza party for reading lots of pages of a book or lots of books. Well, what they found was very interesting. Yes, it was the pizza that motivated these kids to read. But as these students read, they naturally got better at reading. As they got better at reading, they developed a love for reading. And those of you who are readers know this to be true. When you get better at reading, you enjoy it a little bit more. So what ended up happening is this extrinsic reward of pizza affected these students, causing them to get better at reading and develop an intrinsic love of reading. Let me make a connection for you here. We learn about Jesus, or let me put it this way. When you learn about Jesus, I guarantee if you've never heard who Jesus is, if you don't know the story and what he's done for you, when you find out, you will love him to the point of wanting to know more. You're going to want to learn more about Jesus. Well, here's what I can tell you from my own experience. The more I learn about Jesus, the more I love him. It's this perpetual cycle and connection between love and learning when it comes to Jesus. But that's not it. It's not only about a love relationship between us and God. Jesus describes the rest of the commandment. He says this, and a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets. That's also from Matthew 22. If we love someone, we can't help but share the greatest thing that has ever happened to us. And if you've experienced the saving power of Jesus Christ, you know this is literally the greatest thing that's ever happened to you. We learn about Jesus because we love him. The more we learn, the more we love. The greatest gift we can share with others, the best way to love someone is to share Jesus with them. Now, we've made all of this memorable for greater reasons than just t-shirt fodder. We aren't looking for something trite. However, the more memorable and repeatable our mission is, the more likely we will remember it and rally around it in our purpose. Now, there's another good example of how Jesus uses remembering to unite the body. Many of you will know the story of how he sat around the table for the Last Supper with his disciples. And he gave us this visual image, a point of remembrance where he broke the bread, held the bread and said, "This bread represents my body, broken for you." In the same way he took a cup. He says, "This cup represents my blood shed for you." And he calls us to remember what he did for us. Remembering is important. I'm going to move on from there. I'm actually going to go off script a little bit here, because today we were kind of meant to talk about mission, but also vision and values. Let me talk really briefly about vision. Again, if you've heard me preach from the pulpit, you will hear me say repeatedly how much I have an affection for the local churches and their pastors. Every Wednesday morning, the local pastors get together and we pray together. And it's this united prayer that God would reach our city and that they would come to a saving knowledge of who he is. And I love these people that I pastor with, and I love this city. But what you'll find is that even though they're a bunch of great churches, they look different. We should be on a common mission. We're all rallied under the call to make disciples. But the way we do it can be very different. And that comes from vision. Now, in a transparent moment here, we've been working behind the scenes to kind of reshape or represent, not represent, but represent our mission, our vision. And so I've reached out to the elders, we've talked about it at staff, it's been mentioned at council, and we're working towards something. But just this week I had an experience, and I've had these on occasion, but God gave me a vision. And in this case, it was like this instant downloading of a very expansive idea. And I could picture myself walking into a church building full of people that was NorthRidge. And I got this vivid image of what NorthRidge needs to look like in the future. So if you're watching this after the fact, go to our website and look up my message on September 12th, 2021. It hasn't been written yet. It hasn't been preached yet because we haven't reached that point in the calendar as of the point of this filming. But on that day, I'm going to roll out and share this vision. I feel a responsibility to talk with our elders, run it by our council and staff before I share this a little bit more boldly. But I will do that on the 12th. And that vision is going to be what really separates us from every other church. Not makes us better, but makes us different, makes us unique. And along with that, we'll talk about some of the things we value. But really today, I want you to take away with you our mission. Can you remember what it is? Pausing for awkward silence. Hopefully you've said it out already. It's learning and sharing Jesus. That's going to be something you're going to hear over and over through these sessions. Can't wait to see you at the next session. Until then, be safe and be blessed.